Hey, it's David. So today's topic is tying up loose ends. And it might seem like kind of a boring topic to cover, and yet there's some nuance to it that I think is significant and something that many creatives should be looking at in their lives, given that tying up loose ends is maybe something some of us aren't particularly good at. Would love to hear your thoughts on that. Maybe you're super organized. I don't know, but I'm guessing, and I know a lot of creatives, it's like we got piles of papers and paintings and stuff all over the place. And yeah, we know exactly where that one document is located. It's on the third pile from the left, halfway down. We kind of know where things are, and yet to call it organization is just a massive disservice to what is actually going on. The whole chaos of the whole thing that you're actually managing. So you may think to yourself, like, okay, tying up loose ends, it really doesn't matter. But I'm here to tell you it's not insignificant, because honestly, this could be the thing that's stopping you from advancing in your career business. And you're going, no way, David, that's not possible. And I'm telling you that when you don't flow things out, it does affect your ability to create, attract, and manifest what is already on its way. There's a certain term, I don't want to spend a lot of time explaining it or defining it, but vibrational escrow. What that really means is there's things that are for you, waiting for you, and they're going to come to you at the right time. But that doesn't mean you don't have to do anything. Sometimes you do have to do things in order to get the things that are already yours, that are on their way. And this is usually tied to organization, tying up loose ends, completing things, finishing things. You may not like to hear that, because we all tend to have so many projects on the go. I know I do, but we have to define, and it's really important to do this if you can, important to define when something is done so you know when it's done, because otherwise it ends up occupying mind space. And we can talk more about mind space occupation here in a bit. The idea is, let's get that system of yours unclogged, because once it's unclogged, things are going to flow again. And yes, you're always going to have more new projects. You're still going to get those credit card bills in the mail if you're not choosing to have them delivered completely digitally. I believe in having some hard copies for certain things. I don't think it's a horrible idea. That said, I'm certainly not judging anyone who's gone completely digital. Good for you. Good way to not waste a tree, right? So, that can be pretty important too. But let's get that system of yours unclogged. And then we can think about creating systems around having that happen more consistently. Because at first, if you're not used to even organizing things in the first place, how are you going to continue to do that repetitively? So this is about fostering and cultivating a habit and staying consistent with that habit. So this podcast being all about documenting my journey, the thing that I want to share with you is what's on my list right now. And I'm not necessarily going to go into a deep explanation of everything, but I am going to give you a broad overview because I don't want to bore you to death. That's part of it anyway. Thing number one is bringing my car in for repairs and maintenance. Now, this is not something that I consider particularly urgent until my car breaks down. Are you the same way? Yeah, it's too long to wait that long, isn't it? Yeah, you shouldn't wait that long to have your car repaired. But basically, it was due for an oil change. So I'm like, okay, it's on my radar. Like, I know that I'm going to have to bring it in. But what's been happening lately is I'm in the information center. It's telling me that the engine's overheated. So this has happened once or twice. I replaced the coolant, and then it seems to be fine. But 3-4 weeks later, I'm getting the same message. So I put more coolant in and it seems to be fine. But this has me guessing that either there's a slow leak in the coolant tank or somehow, some way, it is evaporating. So I don't know which it is. I don't know what's going on, but those were reasons enough for me to say, yeah, it's time for me to schedule a time with my mechanic to bring my car in. There's a really important point in this, in that I'm delegating responsibility to an expert. We'll talk more about that later. But you're going to find that on multiple accounts, I am delegating responsibility to a capable expert. Number two is moving. Now, I'm not too worried about this. In fact, I don't know that I'm worried at all. What's happening is that I am moving kind of within a shooting distance of Vancouver. I'm currently living in Surrey and looking to move to Port Moody. So it's like maybe 20 minutes away or so. It's not, I can drive there. It's not that big of a deal in terms of distance. I'm also not moving a lot of stuff. And I do have support from a friend who's willing to help, and maybe we'll get a third person in there. I don't think I'm going to need a lot of help, but it would be super convenient for me to be able to load up 2 cars and then get it over with. Because I think that's pretty much how much stuff I've got. And again, not saying I couldn't do it myself. It just would be super convenient to have that kind of help, and people are offering. Now, in the meantime, I don't own furniture. I don't know if you know that. But as I look to make this move, I am going to have to purchase some furniture and kind of have it delivered at a time that preferably overlaps with when I'm going to be leaving my current suite. So I need to get a bed, I need to get a desk, I need to get an office chair. That's all I'm really concerned about in the immediate. If I can sleep and work, I'm pretty good. But of course, I'm going to have to think about more stuff down the line, probably shelves and maybe a couch. I don't know about a TV, maybe a TV. I'm not going to sit and watch TV that often, but a screen in a space where I like to relax kind of makes sense. So I'm thinking about that too. But a TV is not like my top priority, that's for sure. Next is furnishing and cleaning up the place I'm currently renting. And what I mean by furnishing, it's already furnished. It's not that. I have, inadvertently destroyed a few items. It was never my intention. I don't think it's going to cost me an arm and a leg to replace those things, but I am going to need to replace them. So that's on my list of things to do. As far as cleaning goes, again, I found an expert, and I'm delegating that to an expert who knows what they're doing, and I'm sure we'll do a great job having paid them the amount they've asked for. Next is a long list of projects. To be fair, there's some projects that I'm not trying to complete at this exact moment in time. Spark Infinity has ongoing tasks, and I'm not here to complain about that or whine about that. There's always stuff to do. Offer creation, that is something that I haven't quite completely connected the dots. And if you are listening to this right now and you're in the Spark Infinity community, we'd love to hear what it is you want me to create. Of course, I've already got lots of stuff, and maybe there's a way to kind of repackage and rebundle that without, giving away the whole secret to creation here. But that is something that I can definitely do. There's book editing stuff that I want to do, and this is something I tend to do on a more gradual, as I can handle it sort of basis. So again, I would not consider that an urgent project. And then there is some client work that I would say is a little more important and urgent at this time, and some projects which, as I've said before, looking to pass on. If you're listening to this and you happen to be like a beginner and advancing web designer, would love to hear about it, because I have a project that I might want to pass along to you if I can get a good sense that I can trust you with that. Next is files. Again, I get some physical mail. This is really not a significant category for me, but I do find that there are benefits to tying up this loose end, which I will elaborate on. And accounting was another thing that came up. Again, this is not like super urgent, but I've come to the point where I don't really want to wait around every year income taxes time comes around to actually get my accounting in order. It would be much better if I did a little bit here and there during the week, maybe an hour per week, maybe not even that. It can be done pretty quickly if I don't leave it to the last minute. When I do leave it to the last minute, of course, it takes me a few hours, maybe a few days, depending on how much time is available for me to do. So I'm realizing it would be much simpler and it would be much better if I committed to doing that consistently, regularly. Or maybe even just once a month would be enough. I want to share a little bit about what I've been discovering and or have learned along the way about tying up loose ends. First is top performers are always organized. I heard this recently. I don't know if I buy that, but I think I do. Because, and I don't want to use myself strictly as the example here, but I can look at myself and say, yeah, I'm pretty well organized, but in some ways I know I could be better. Then again, I crafted an entire system. I talked about it in the Productivity, Performance, and Profits Black Book. I am planning to move over to a new system. I wouldn't even say I came across recently. I've known about it for a long time, but can kind of finally see how it brings all the pieces together. Like I had to-do lists and desktop calendar pad and all these disparate things to try to keep things organized. And now I realize there's a single system that kind of does all that. It does your calendar, it does your to-do list, it does your priorities, and it even manages your contacts and the people that you need to keep in touch with. So I'm looking forward to shifting over to that. And I think that will help me improve my productivity, amazing though it already is. If in no one else's mind, then certainly mine. Next is organizing and purging result in an inflow of opportunities. This sounds absolutely crazy, but it is corroborated in a certain book, a certain author whom I've praised for a long time, Dr. Robert Anthony, also claims, I don't know how true it is, but ostensibly, and I somewhat believe it, again, I think I kind of buy it, that Dr. Robert Anthony is the secret behind many high-performing celebrities. And so if you've never heard of him, you never checked out his books, I haven't read a bad one yet. I think there are books where it's like, oh, this could be better, but not a single bad personal development book in the mix. He's produced, as far as I'm concerned, really, really great work. And this whole thing of like clearing your office or putting files away or throwing out old to-do lists or purging your email, it sounds crazy, but when you actually sit down and do that, it seems to make a difference. New opportunities start to flow in. So if things are slow in your career, if things are slow in your business right now, and you're looking for more inflow, clean up, tidy up, tie up loose ends, complete things, finish things, make it so that things can flow into your life. Make it so the universe can't help but trust you. Oh, okay, look at everything he did. Look at everything she did. I guess they're ready for more opportunity. Next, the importance of delegating to experts. This is something that I referred to a little bit earlier. Here's the thing, right? So I'm delegating the cleaning of the suite where I currently live and I'm moving out of. Why? I'm not an expert cleaner. I can do a pretty darn good job if I put my mind to it. I don't hate cleaning. I don't hate maintaining a clean space, but it's generally not the best and highest use of my time and energy. And so it is much better in the hands of an expert who I know is going to do a thorough job and leave the place as good as, if not better, than how I found it. That's what I want to do because I believe in adding value to people. And this is something that's going to add value to the people who are planning to rent this place out again. By the way, I was told this neighborhood was going to be demolished this October. It sounds like that's not in the cards anymore, but due to changes in laws and regulations in the United States and how it affects Canada and how real estate companies are doing right now. Awful, by the way. Not doing great in Canada. It sounds like that's not even happening. But you know what? It added some urgency to me going out to find a new place for myself. And ultimately, I think that was a good thing. If someone hadn't lit the fire under my butt, maybe I would have just stayed here. There's nothing wrong with where I am. It's just not perfect. and there is better available. So looking forward to that move, but not doing everything, especially the things that I'm not good at. And part of this realization is I don't really like to manage people. Ironic, right? Because not long ago, I got promoted to team lead in the big tech contract that I worked during the day. And you know what? I don't mind managing a few people in that context. It's work. I relay some information, I ask questions, I support my team members, that part of it doesn't bother me at all. But, I realized a major weakness of myself, at least as in an entrepreneurial capacity. I've got strengths, and I think we all do when it comes to being entrepreneurial artists. I definitely have strengths, but like managing people's not one of them. And I especially hate micromanaging. I don't want people to micromanage me. So why would I want to micromanage others? And it seems that people require, some of the people that I've been in communication with or have worked with, seems like they require a lot of handholding and a lot of guidance. And it's like, gee, I've got a million things to do today. I can give you 10, 20 minutes a day, maybe, but even that could be a stretch. So I don't know. Are you the kind of person that's good at that? I hate it. Like, unless there's a really good internal chat system or communication system we can use, I'm lost. I'm just like, what does that look like? What do we do? How do we communicate with this person? What do we need to tell them? It's like, it gets lost. So I need to find someone who is good at managing people, because I think that would advance things for me a lot. The next is fewer commitments result in clearer thinking. When I bring this up, I always think of the example of owning a home. And I did for not quite 10 years in Calgary. And it was a nice house, and it made a lot of opportunities possible. I set up a home studio. I don't know if we'd been able to do that if I wasn't in a house. An apartment sure would have been tough. Set up a home office. That would have been tougher in a much smaller space. There were rooms for all my roommates. There's kitchen in the shared space. It's all a shared space, basically, but it worked very well, at least with people I was familiar with. And people I wasn't so familiar with, that, just remember not to rent to them anymore, because that didn't work. But the thing is, the house kind of became a burden at one point, and it was costing me a lot. And there was fridge repairs, and sometimes the fridge had to be replaced. Sometimes the furnace had to be repaired. And then there was property taxes. And of course, even if you're paying property taxes, you still have income taxes, and the list goes on and on. Now, I'm not dissing home ownership. You got to live somewhere. And all things being equal, it's all going to cost you something, whether it's an apartment or a condo or a house, whether you rent or own. It's going to cost something. But for me at that time, home ownership may not have been the right move. And I don't mean the whole time I was there. I think in kind of the final 2 or 3 years I was there, it began taking up all my mind space, and it began taking up all my energy and all my creativity to try to come up with ways to save myself from ruin. And that's not where you want your mind to be as a creative or a creator. So when I sold the house and moved out into a basement suite and was paying significantly less in rent. Now, it was still way too much for the location in Calgary, as well as what it made available for me, but it was far, far more affordable than living in a home. And so it really helped me at that time get clear. I didn't have to spend so much time thinking about creative ways to try to make my life work, try to pay the bills, try to catch up on debt, all that kind of stuff. Pretty much in one fell swoop, selling the house made it so I could be debt free. And when I had so much clarity of mind that didn't exist before. And that made it possible for me to start writing books. So it was all really positive things. It's important to think about, like, what stressors do you have in your life that are keeping you from fully engaging in the projects you actually say you want to do? And sometimes because you're just living with them all the time, it can be hard to tell. It can be hard to tell. So how about you? Let's finish here today. What have you learned about tying up loose ends? Is there anything you've discovered along the way? Would you agree with what I shared here? Is there something that you have questions about? Is there something you completely vehemently disagree with? I'm okay with hearing about that too. And finally, like, what is something you could finish this week? What is an action you could take? What is something of benefit that you can take from this episode? And cause in your life? What is the difference you can make? Look forward to hearing your thoughts. Unlock the secrets to skyrocketing your productivity, boosting performance, and maximizing profits with my latest premium guide, the Productivity, Performance, and Profits Black Book. Tailored for independent artists and entrepreneurs, this comprehensive resource is your roadmap to turning ideas into reality. Say goodbye to abandoned projects collecting dust on your shelves or buried in your hard drives. It's time to bring your vision to life. Grab your free copy of the Productivity, Performance, and Profits Black Book now at davidandrewweeb.com/blackbook. That's WIEBE. Don't miss out on the key to unlocking your success.